What's going on YouTube? So it's safe to say that the Kia Telluride has been a slam dunk for the brand, quickly going from zero sales to one of the segment's best sellers. That's why this model is such a big deal. And as many of you may know, we recently purchased one. While we've had our EX line for about a month so far, today we get to show you guys the very top of the lineup, the 329 horsepower turbo hybrid SX Prestige. So with tons of luxury and a price tag that's about half as much, we want to know, is this a Range Rover for the middle class? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's get things started here with a quick spec dump. So under the hood, we've got the new hybrid model. It's a 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors, making 329 horsepower. This is paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and with the available all-wheel drive system, combined fuel economy is rated at an impressive 31 miles per gallon. Now, the starting price for the Telluride for 2027 model year is just a little over $39,000. And if you're interested in buying a new Telluride, make sure to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get access to invoice pricing information and the best price. But let's go ahead and close up the hood so that we can get into this exterior design as well as the very luxurious interior. Now jumping into the exterior, of course, as you can see, this new Telluride has a very bold look, and each of the trim levels of the Telluride kind of has its own vibe overall. Now, like we said, this is the SX Prestige model, so this is actually one of the core models. It does not have the X-Line package, which means you'll see up here in the front kind of a more simplified and premium overall design. So instead of the full black look that we have on our Telluride, we get a grille that actually has some body color inserts throughout, gloss black through here, and then we have the light colored Kia logo. Now for the hybrid models, you are going to have less trims to choose from. It's going to start at the EX trim level. You can also get an SX and SX Prestige, and again, you can also add the X-Line if you prefer as well. Now let's take a look at the headlights. This is another area of a bold design for the Telluride. We have projector LEDs on all models, and you've got these amber colored daytime running lights. Now the thing to point out that's different for the SX Prestige is that this has entry and exit animations that kind of fade through it to give you an even more premium vibe. And then additionally, we have fog lights built in down here for most models. Now moving on to the wheels, you have various choices between 18 and 21-inch alloys. Now what we have today is actually a 20-inch alloy. That's because you get the 21s only if you choose the X-Line model, since this is just the SX Prestige but without that extra design package. These are the 20-inch gloss black alloys. Even though they're a little bit smaller, they are very similar in overall design execution. Now, as I come up here to our mirrors, of course, with the SX Prestige, you're going to get all of the features. So you have auto dimming on both the driver and passenger side, and power folding in addition to the expected blind spot monitoring and heating. Now here at the side, we have an overall length of 199.2 inches, which does represent a growth of about 2.3 inches over the previous generation. And I think when you see the side profile as well as moving towards the rear, this is where you really start to see that Range Rover inspiration come in. You know, I talked a lot about, is this a Range Rover for half price? Well, in the design, it's certainly going to get your attention, because I certainly, when I see one of these, think, oh, this really does remind me of a Range Rover. Now, as far as the individual elements on the back to discuss, of course, you've got that very boxy look. You have very premium LED lights as well. So just like with the front, they're pushed out to the outside edges, making this look like a very wide SUV. It's a very premium separated LED unit. All elements are LED, including a full-length bar across the top, and then you have your LED reverse light down there in the middle. Of course, there's no exposed exhaust outlets on turbo or hybrid models, and as far as towing is concerned, the hybrid can tow up to 4,500 pounds, which is 500 less than the 2.5 turbo. Now, as far as the safety systems are concerned, of course, you do have all of the active safety features as standard equipment, as you would expect for a family 3-row SUV. Also on this model, since it is the fully loaded example, we have Highway Drive Assist 2.0, which is the most advanced version that can do automatic lane changes. But guys, as nice as the exterior is, there's a lot of luxury to talk about on the inside. So let's go ahead and get into that. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now, as handsome as the exterior is, of course, the real show is on the inside. So let's move on to that. First, of course, let's take a look at our key fob before we get inside. Typical Kia key fob. You have smart entry as standard on all Tellurides. And then, of course, our fully loaded model is going to give you smart park in addition to the remote start system. As we walk up to the Telluride, it's got the new pop-out door handles as well as mirrors that fold out upon approach. And then let's take a peek inside this interior. So guys, you can tell right off the bat, this is a very luxurious space just by the overall finishes and the color options here on this SX Prestige. Now with our own Telluride, we went through very extensive details about what you get on each of the individual trim levels. I'm really going to try to keep things focused mostly to this fully loaded example to show you kind of the best case scenario of what you will get on the Telluride model. And we'll begin our tour of the inside with the seats. So this itself is going to be a special thing. So we have a special color on board. This is a blackberry color. So you'll notice throughout the interior, you kind of have this dark purplish color theme paired with a beige option. I think it looks very, very nice. You also have a ton of other color choices on board. Now with the new Telluride though, one of the big things is the fact that you cannot get real leather anymore, and you can't get Napa leather either. All models will have a Syntex faux leather. I have to say though, here on this model, it has a very soft and supple feel with the perforation. I think most people would be convinced it is real leather. Also, the SX Prestige gives you this suede insert here at the top, as well as this cloth mesh headrest design. Now, the other big thing that I want to show off is the fact that we have the relaxation seat. Now, you have to get the SX Prestige, and you have to get the hybrid, and you have to choose the executive package. If you do all of those things, that's where you unlock this relaxation seat. So this can slide all the way back like you've seen in other Kia products like the EV9, pop out that recliner and just give you a place for ultimate naps. Say if you're waiting for your kid as they go through a soccer practice or something like that, I could imagine is very, very useful. Now, as you look over here, another exclusive feature is the fact that we have massaging seats. And of course, you have seat heating and ventilation, which are included on most models, as well as memory seating. But let's go ahead and climb inside and get into the other details. Now, the first major detail to get into is the overall cabin materials. Of course, Telluride has been known for having one of the finest interiors in the segment, and I think that legacy certainly lives on for the second generation. So over here on the door trim, you have a full leatherette covering. In a matching color scheme, you'll notice more of the leatherette covering basically the entire door trim with a stitching detail. As we move to the upper dash, all of this is finished in a leatherette with stitching detail. And then through the center section, we've got a nice faux wood trim. It's very realistic looking and matches with the rest of the interior. There's a lot of advanced ambient lighting in here as well that kind of illuminates on the wood trim level, but you will have to get at least the SX trim level. As we learned from our Telluride, the EXX line has absolutely no ambient lighting. Now down below, we've got some more of that wood-like trim running through here. Everything looks very nice, and you have those signature Telluride handlebars all covered in leatherette with a very, very solid and well put together feel. Now we'll fire it up with the push button start located right here on the shifter. Now that's all fired up, let's jump right to the gauge cluster. Of course, this has a dual screen arrangement. We've got a 12.3-inch full digital and fully reconfigurable display on the SX Prestige. That does begin at the SX trim level. Throws in some additional features that the lower trims won't have, including the ability to change the design, and also unlocks this blind spot camera system, which I know is a fan favorite. Up at the top, the SX Prestige will also throw in a head-up display, which has some really nice detailed information, especially when you are navigating. Now, as I pull back to the steering wheel, you'll notice this has the new squared-off design. It's a two-tone finish, so it looks fantastic, and overall feels very nice in the hand. Now, you already saw it is a heated steering wheel, but what I really want to draw attention to is this right here. So you can see this is actually a power adjusting steering wheel. This is the very first time this has been offered on a Telluride, and really just helps it have that Range Rover feel overall. Now let's turn over here to our interior storage next. Pop this open. It's got the split opening like many European cars, and inside you'll see a decent amount of space. With this design, actually you're kind of sharing with the back storage, and I'll point that out when I do the rear seat, of course, but not super large. We'll test that out with donuts later on. And then if I slide that back, you'll see this really cavernous area here. It's reconfigurable with your cup holder. So if you press this button right here, that actually just pops it out, puts it in cup holder mode, or you can fold those easily back in like so to maximize your usable storage space. In front of that, one of the nice things that the 27 Telluride's including is not one, but 2 wireless phone charging pads, and on every single trim level. Really excited to see that. And then you also have some pass-through storage right through there. So really there's quite a lot of storage, and one of the main reasons why is because there's no shifter on the center console. You saw this earlier. They've moved it to this column-mounted electronic style. You've seen this on some of the other Hyundai and Kia products. Very simple to use, just twist a D for drive. You have a paddle shifter up there. And when you go into reverse, here is our available 360-degree camera system. As you can see, you got really nice resolution, that overhead view, and you also get the 3D spin. So you can go all around the vehicle like so. This is included on the SX trim level and above. Also, if you get the X Pro, that's going to give you a trail camera. And just press that P right there for park. Next up, we've got our climate controls. Thankfully, we do have physical controls for the main functions. That includes, of course, your temperature adjustment and your fan speed adjustment. When you make those adjustments, it'll be reflected up here in a special 5-inch climate display wedged between your other 2 displays. Overall, it's pretty simple to use, although some of it is, of course, blocked out by the steering wheel from the driver's position. If you want to expand this, you can click that arrow, and that will bring it into the main infotainment screen for some more detailed overall adjustments. And we also have a physical volume roller right there in the prominent center position between those 2 vents. Now, one of the things I'm excited to show you guys is the 14-speaker Meridian audio system. Of course, our EX line did not have that option, so let's hear this sample and see if it was worth upgrading potentially for the SX. Alright, so overall sound quality of this system is pretty solid. It certainly fills up the cabin nicely and has a good rich sound. It's a little bit bass heavy, but overall I will say it is a notable improvement over the standard system that we have in our Telluride. So if you're a big audiophile, I would upgrade for that. Also, you've got these metal look speaker grills, which I think add an elegant touch to the interior. Okay, so let's zero in now with the main infotainment system. This is a 12.3-inch display matching the 12.3-inch gauge cluster, and it's got the latest CCNC software that you've seen on many Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis products. Now you might notice that it looks a little funky on today's tester. That's because we have the available themes. So you can do tons and tons of different theme options on this latest version, including like your favorite NBA teams, Disney characters, or nature. So it's definitely very clever overall, and I think your kids will probably be quite delighted with this. You can change it to a traditional view, though, if you prefer. Things to point out with the system: we have built-in navigation, you have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you have YouTube. Also, one of the things I really like is that you can go into the Seats menu and check out how many different things that you can choose from the screen here for the different seats. So you can turn on and off the heaters and ventilators. You can also start adjusting the rear seats and the third row. Overall, really, really nice stuff. And this will give you that ability to kind of control what your kids are doing, for instance. Up top here, we've got an auto dimming mirror. This is also the digital camera rear view mirror system that's included with the SX Prestige model. SX Prestige will also give you the beautiful suede headliner, which again, very much a Range Rover-like touch. And then let's kind of take a look here at our sunroof. So this is the standard size unit up in the front. Most models will come with this. However, if you get the SX or above, you'll also get a second, much larger panel for the second and third row. As you can see, you have a power sunshade for this as well, although that part of it does not open up. Now I've opened up these really long back doors so that we can go ahead and check out this back seat, because the luxury certainly does not just stop in the front. Before I actually climb inside, I want to talk about the seats first of all, because we can get a better view of it from the outside. So first and foremost, captain's chairs are actually standard on every single hybrid model. That includes the EX hybrid, the base hybrid. And if you choose that executive package I was mentioning earlier, not only do you get the relaxation seats in the front, but you also get them here in the rear. So a feature that's very uncommon, frankly, even on luxury SUVs, is the fact that we've got the full power adjustment for this second row seat. As you can see, you can slide forward and back, as well as recline a bunch, and you can press that button there to go into the full relaxation mode, pop out the recliner, and take epic naps back here as well. That's absolutely fantastic and a very high-end feature overall. And now that I'm actually in the back seat, we can take a look at the space figures. So we've got a little bit over 41 inches of legroom, which is something I want to point out because that is a reduction from the gas-powered Telluride. I'm sure it has something to do with the overall battery packaging underneath of the floor, but it does reduce your legroom by a little over an inch. It's about 1.5 inches actually. Now this seat is adjusted to my own 5'8" driving position, and as you can see in this situation, there's absolutely plenty of space regardless of that reduction, and my feet can slide up underneath of the seat super easily. The headroom is not impacted either, so you have plenty of space. Now let's go through some of the features. So you've got a lot back here to talk about. I'll start at the top. So first of all, we've got our third climate zone. I mentioned that earlier, with your own controls up here on the roof. Very simple, up and down like so. You've got vents that come out of the ceiling. And then as we slide down, 2 USB ports in both of the seat backs. You have your cup holders, and then we've got this special storage tray. If I slide this back, you can see that we've got kind of a deploying table situation, and then there's more storage underneath of it. So this is actually where most of your console storage goes, since it is a little bit shallow up there in the front, so keep that in mind. Turning over to the door trim, we've got the sunshades, of course. These are actually included on the majority of the Telluride, starting at the mid-level EX and above. And then as we move to the center section, you'll see that we have both heated and ventilated second row seats. This is included on the SX Prestige model. One thing to be aware of is that you can't get heating as a standalone option on one of the lower trims. You have to get the two of them together with the SX Prestige, so that limits the availability a little bit, of course. The ventilation does work very well, and the seats themselves are absolutely phenomenal. In addition to the relaxation mode, they're just overall very comfortable in both the back and the front. You also have illuminated back seat belts as another little touch, and then you got that little pass-through there to get back into the third row. Speaking of, let's go ahead and check that out. Now the first step to get into the third row is, of course, to fold the seats. With the power seat, it's as easy as that one push there, and it's just going to go ahead and take care of business by itself. It's going to slide forward and then start to tilt. This would help you keep some types of car seats in place without having to remove them. And one of the things Kia said they really worked on was giving you more space to get inside the vehicle with this extended wheelbase for the new generation. I will say, super easy to hop back here. All right, now once I'm actually in the third row, I'll give you guys kind of a look at that. As you can see, not too shabby overall. This seat is slid all the way back currently, and I don't really have any additional leg room overall, or knee room, I should say. We have about 32 inches of leg room, which is very much class competitive. And of course, we could take this seat forward a good amount. As far as the seats themselves, I am lacking a little bit of thigh support since it could be extended out just a little bit more, but we're off the ground more than some of the competition. And I would say overall, I am fairly comfortable. Now, as we take a look at the features, you've got a USB connection. One of the things that's new to the Telluride for 2027 that the Palisade had in the previous generation are the heated third row seats. You will have to get the SX Prestige Hybrid, and it is optional even on top of that. Up here, we've got our vents built in to the headliner, and you also have some rear lighting. And now let's check out the cargo area. Of course, a very important part for a vehicle like this. Got a hands-free power opening tailgate. And when that opens up, you're going to see really nice space figures for the segment. Now, one thing I want you to be aware of, though, is that the hybrid does eat into the space just a little bit. It's not really significant, but just a little bit. So note that these are slightly different numbers. We have 21.3 cubic feet of space behind the third row, 47.7 cubic feet behind the second row, and if we fold all the rows down, we'll have a maximum of 88.3 cubic feet. That is 1 cubic foot less than the traditional gas-powered model as a maximum capacity. And mostly that is going to be due to the fact that the battery packaging takes up a lot of your underfloor storage. You just have a very tiny crack right underneath of there. Now, speaking of folding the seats down, this is another thing I want to draw your attention to. Power folding third row is still not available on the Telluride. It is offered on several of the competitors and also the Hyundai Palisade. You'll have to pull this little string here and push forward to fold it down. Overall, not too hard, but it does feel a bit strange that it has the power folding second row mechanism, buttons right there, and still doesn't have the power folding third row. Now, once we get those seats down, I'll give you that good look at just how much space you're looking at. And there's a nice look at the maximum cargo capacity now that everything is folded down. Certainly a pretty nice amount of space. Now, I am on a time crunch here at the Telluride's first drive, and I'm filming by myself, so I'm not going to be able to get the tape measure out for those official measurements, but you can, of course, check out our other Telluride content where we have extensively measured all the aspects of the cargo capacity. By the way, there is no spare tire on the hybrid model. Now let's get into some more details about the powertrains and your options you have on board. Now, one of the big things about the new Telluride is that they switched to a standard 2.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder instead of the previous V6. That's making 274 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque, and that's what we have in our EXX line. So you've seen that already on the channel. What we have with us today is this new hybrid system. So this makes quite a lot more power because it's using also a 2.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder engine, but it's adding in 2 electric motors and a small lithium-ion battery pack. Combined power on this is 329 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque. So this is the most powerful Telluride they have ever made, and it's a lot more powerful than other Kia hybrids such as the Sorento hybrid. Now, this is going to be paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission on the hybrid, 8-speed automatic on the traditional gas option. And with the available all-wheel drive system that we have today, the combined fuel economy is 31 MPG. So that's quite impressive. And one of the things I noticed is that's actually a higher MPG rating than a Palisade hybrid all-wheel drive by 2 MPG. So I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm certainly happy to see it. Now, the best fuel economy you can get out of a Telluride hybrid is going to be the EX front-wheel drive. That's the base hybrid model. That will be rated at 35 miles per gallon combined, which is really good for the amount of power that you get on board. Now, we can't wait to put this powertrain to the test, as well as get things like a sound level reading on this fully loaded SX Prestige model. However, we're going to have to wait just a little while longer. The hybrids do have a driving impressions embargo in place for a few more days at the date you see down below. We wanted to go ahead and show you all the luxury that you get here with this fully loaded model, but just make sure to come back to our channel in a few days so you can see all the performance that the hybrid model is giving you, as well as comparing it to that standard 2.5 turbo engine that we own. Now, of course, by this point in the video, you're probably wondering about the pricing, especially for the hybrid models, and I do have the information with me right now. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the base price of the Telluride is $39,190 for 2027. But when we get to the hybrid models, they are going to start out at the EX front-wheel drive trim level. So that means the base price for the hybrid is $46,490. Now, on each equivalent trim level, hybrid is going to cost you about $3,000 extra, so it's not a cheap option overall, but of course you are getting a lot better fuel economy and a lot more power. Now, as far as this specific tester today, as we mentioned many times, it is the SX Prestige all-wheel drive. You can see that base price there for this trim is $56,590. When we add in some of the options, including that executive package, and a couple extra things like the tow hitch, down there at the bottom we have a finalized price of $60,210. You could actually add one more additional thing. You could do an SX Prestige X-Line. That will cost you another $1,000. So overall, pricing is not going to be inexpensive, but Kia said they really focused a lot on value. So even though the price itself might not be a lot less than the competition, it is going to pack in more things than the rivals. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at the 2027 Kia Telluride SX Prestige. Hopefully you found this content helpful, and if you did, make sure you go down below and click subscribe. That's how you tell automakers that you value our content, and that's why they invite us out to places like beautiful California here to see the latest Telluride model. Now, of course, we do own a Telluride as well, so obviously if you're interested in this model, we're going to have tons of ownership content coming up, and you can see how reliable it is and things like that. We appreciate your continued support if you're already a fan and subscriber, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.